My supervisor laughed in front of the whole team. We're letting you go because you're not inspiring anymore. I gathered my things without a word. 6 months later, the company lost its biggest client after they chose a consultant who turned out to be. I'll never forget that Tuesday morning. The whole team was in the conference room, about 20 of us packed into a space that suddenly felt too small. Mark, my supervisor, stood in front of us like he owned the world. I'd worked under him for 5 years. We weren't friends, but I thought we had mutual respect. I was wrong. He didn't pull me aside. He didn't take me into his office. No, Mark decided to make an example of me. He smiled, actually smiled, and said, "We're letting you go because you're not inspiring anymore." Not inspiring. Like I was some motivational poster that had lost its shine. The words didn't even make sense. I wasn't late, my work was solid, and I always met deadlines. Hell, I'd helped train half the people in that room. But none of that mattered. Everyone went quiet. You could hear the AC humming. My face went hot. I felt my chest tighten, but I wasn't going to give him what he wanted. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just nodded, stood up, grabbed my notebook and coffee mug, and walked out. I didn't say a word. That silence was the only thing I had left. I left my pride in that room with them staring at my back. I don't think I'll ever forget the looks on their faces, some shocked, some awkward, some like they'd known it was coming. No one spoke up for me. Not a single person. I got in my car, sat there for a while, and stared at the steering wheel. I felt empty. 5 years down the drain. I spent the next week in a fog. I barely ate. I just sat on my couch in my tiny apartment in Cicero, scrolling through job listings that all felt the same. We're looking for a rock star, must be a self-starter, must bring energy and positivity. Every time I saw those words, my stomach twisted. I kept thinking, was I not enough? Did I really lose my spark? Mark's words replayed in my head every night when I tried to sleep. I started sending out resumes, dozens a day. I wrote and rewrote cover letters, tailored each one, tried to sound inspiring. Nothing. Weeks passed. The rejection emails piled up. Some places didn't even bother to reply. My savings were draining fast. Rent was coming up. I started applying to anything: data entry, retail, even warehouse jobs. I went to interviews where younger guys in tight suits looked me over like I was already past my prime at 37. I could feel the judgment in every handshake. Then I got a call. It was from Sarah, a former client I'd worked with on a big project the year before. She was at a different company now, and they were looking for someone to lead a new account. "I know what you can do," she told me. "I've seen it firsthand." Her words hit me like a shot of cold water. Someone still believed in me. I took the job as a freelance consultant. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't come with benefits, but it paid the bills, and more importantly, it gave me a shot to prove myself again. I worked harder than I ever had. I stayed up until 2 a.m. every night, poring over data, building presentations, fixing problems before they even reached the client. Sarah saw it too. She started giving me more responsibility, introducing me to bigger players in the industry. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One day, I was in a meeting with a new potential client, an enormous account that could change everything. As we wrapped up, they mentioned they had been working with a top-tier consultant from my old company. My stomach sank. They dropped a name. It was Mark. My old supervisor. That smug, arrogant prick was now handling their biggest client. My heart raced. I sat in that chair, nodding politely, but my brain was on fire. I had to find a way to flip this. And I knew just how. I started asking quiet questions, digging into the client's problems. I learned their pain points, the deadlines they'd missed, the deliverables they didn't get. I asked simple, careful questions like, "How's the communication been?" And, "Do they really understand your goals?" Little by little, cracks started to show. I could see it in their faces, in the way they shifted in their seats. There was tension. There was frustration. Mark had dropped the ball. I didn't gloat. I didn't make it obvious. I just kept showing up, doing the work, and making sure they knew I was there when they needed me. The seeds were planted. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Sarah. "Can you jump on a call at 2?" she asked. When I logged in, I wasn't expecting what I saw. It was a full meeting with the client's leadership team. About 10 people, including the CEO, CFO, and their legal guy. They looked tense. Sarah was there too, looking serious. I tried to keep my face calm, but my gut told me something big was about to happen. The CEO started. "We've been reviewing the reports from the last 6 months. There's a lot of inconsistency. Deliverables have been missed. Deadlines pushed. Communication has been lacking." He paused, staring straight into the camera. "And we're trying to understand how this happened." Sarah nodded toward me. "That's why I brought in someone else. To take a fresh look." The CFO jumped in, clearly angry. "We just lost a major partner because of delays from your previous consultant. That cost us nearly $2 million in revenue." I listened carefully, letting them vent. I didn't rush. I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. "I can walk you through exactly where the problems are and what's been missed. I've spent the last 3 weeks analyzing everything." They leaned in, hungry for answers. I laid it out, piece by piece: missed deadlines, incomplete reports, half-baked proposals that looked like they were thrown together at the last minute. I showed them the emails, late responses, vague updates. I showed them the deliverables that didn't match the contract. It was all there, in black and white. The CEO sat back, face tight. "This is unacceptable." Then it happened. The legal guy asked, "Who was the consultant responsible for this work?" Silence. Sarah didn't say a word. She just let the question hang in the air. I could feel the heat in the room through the screen. I stayed quiet too. The CFO finally spoke. "Mark." His voice was hard, sharp. "Mark. My old supervisor. The guy who fired me in front of everyone, laughed while doing it, and said I wasn't inspiring." I felt a knot of satisfaction tighten in my chest. But I kept my face neutral, professional. I wasn't going to gloat, yet. The CEO leaned forward. "We'll need to bring in a new lead consultant. Effective immediately." Sarah spoke softly, like it was just a practical suggestion. "I'd recommend me. He's been reliable and thorough." And just like that, I had the account. The company's biggest client. The same client Mark had been bragging about for years. What no one knew yet, except me, was that Mark had done more than just drop the ball. I'd been digging deeper, and I found something worse: he'd been double billing hours. Charging the client for time that didn't match up with actual work. He was sloppy about it, probably thinking no one would check. I cross-referenced his invoices against email timestamps, meeting logs, and project files. The discrepancies were everywhere. I compiled it all neatly. I didn't go to HR. I didn't go to his boss. I went straight to the client's legal team. Sent it all in one email, with the subject line: "For your review, consultant billing irregularities." The fallout was immediate. Within 48 hours, the company terminated their contract with Mark's firm. They sent out a formal letter demanding reimbursement for overbilling. Mark's name was on every document. The legal guy at the client's company called me directly to thank me for my diligence. Mark called me, too. I didn't answer. The next day, I heard from someone still at the old office. Mark had been fired. Walked out in front of the team, just like he'd done to me. And the best part? Sarah looped me in to take over not just the client, but multiple other accounts. They wanted someone they could trust. That someone was me. Mark didn't go quietly. After he got fired, he started calling everyone, trying to save face, blaming the client, blaming Sarah, blaming me. He even tried reaching out to people I was working with, trying to poison the well. I ignored him. But I knew he wouldn't stop there. A week later, I got a knock at my door. A certified letter. Mark was suing me. He was claiming I had defamed him, that I'd sabotaged his career, that I'd unfairly interfered with his client relationships. The nerve of this man, it was unbelievable. At first I panicked. My hands were shaking as I read the papers. I called a lawyer, terrified this could ruin everything I'd rebuilt. But the lawyer, an old family friend named Rick, took one look at the case and laughed. "This is trash. He's bluffing. He's got nothing." Still, I had to respond. I filed a counterclaim, with all the evidence I had, every email, every billing discrepancy, every report. I included the records of his late deliverables, the client complaints, the entire chain of problems. My lawyer added it all into the response. Mark's lawyer backed down fast. I never heard from them again. But the story didn't end there. 2 months later, the company I'd worked for, Mark's old company, got hit with a full-scale audit. Word got around that the client I'd helped had reported the billing issues not just for Mark's account, but for the entire firm. It wasn't just Mark who'd been shady. The higher-ups had been padding invoices across multiple clients for years. When the audit report came out, the fallout was brutal. The CEO resigned. The CFO got fired. Half the management team was let go. The company's biggest clients walked. Within 6 months, they had to downsize their entire operation. The Chicago office I'd once worked in? Closed. Gone. As for Mark? I heard through the grapevine that he tried to get work elsewhere, but no one would touch him. His reputation was shot. Last I heard, he was driving for Uber in the suburbs. The final blow, though, this one was personal. About a year after everything blew up, I got a call from one of the younger guys from the old office, Kevin. He told me he'd heard Mark was going through a divorce. His wife had left him after finding out about the money problems, the job loss, the whole mess. Apparently, she took the kids and moved out of state. It was messy. Ugly. And yeah, I'll be honest, when I heard that, I didn't feel sorry for him. Not one bit. But here's the thing I wasn't expecting, my own mistake in all this. In the middle of chasing revenge, I'd been working nonstop. Every client, every project, I threw myself into it, trying to prove I wasn't uninspiring. And in the process, I pushed too hard. Sarah, who'd been my biggest supporter, pulled me aside one day and said, "You're doing great work, but you've got to slow down. You're burning out." And she was right. My health had taken a hit, late nights, bad diet, no exercise. I wasn't sleeping. That's when I realized Mark had been wrong about me, but I was wrong too. I'd let my anger push me so hard that I forgot to take care of myself. So I stepped back. I hired a small team to help. I set boundaries. And slowly, I started to build something sustainable. Looking back, I don't regret any of it. The humiliation. The long nights. The fights. The small wins that stacked up until the big one came crashing down. Mark got what he deserved. The company got what it had coming. And I learned that sometimes, revenge is about getting even, but sometimes, it's also about surviving, learning, and making damn sure you never let anyone put you down like that again. I won. And I'm never going back. The months after I exposed Mark were chaotic. My inbox exploded with new projects. Everyone wanted to know who I was, what I did, how I saved that major account. Sarah pushed my name to the top of every client list. Suddenly, I was the go-to guy. The one who fixed messes, the one who delivered. But Mark wasn't done. He tried everything to claw his way back. First, he reached out to mutual contacts, spinning stories. Telling anyone who'd listen that I'd fabricated the billing records, that I'd doctored emails. He even went so far as to create a fake LinkedIn post accusing me of being unethical. It was desperate, it was pathetic, but it got attention. I got calls from clients worried. I had to defend myself all over again. I sent them everything, every email, every file, every receipt. It was exhausting, but it worked. My clients saw the truth. They stuck with me. Mark's lies fell flat. But the real blow came when the firm he used to work for, my old company, started bleeding money. The audit had exposed everything. Turns out, the overbilling wasn't just Mark's doing. The entire leadership had been complicit, padding hours, inflating invoices, even ghost charging for work that was never done. The auditors found over $10 million in errors. The SEC got involved. It got ugly. The CFO got arrested for fraud. The CEO resigned under pressure. Several managers were fired. A lawsuit hit the company like a wrecking ball. Multiple clients joined in, demanding refunds, damages, legal fees. The company's reputation was ruined. They lost their biggest accounts, one by one. I watched the news like a hawk, reading every headline, every article. Top Chicago consulting firm under investigation for fraud. Clients flee after audit scandal. Former supervisor at center of fraud scandal now jobless. And Mark? He lost everything. He sold his house to cover legal fees. His wife divorced him, took the kids, moved to Indianapolis. He tried to start his own consulting firm, lasted 3 months before it tanked. No one would hire him. The last I heard, he was working nights stocking shelves at a Walmart out in Joliet. Someone told me he tried Uber for a while, but it didn't pay the bills. And then there was me. Here's the part one didn't see coming. I paid a price too. I'd been so focused on destroying Mark that I stopped paying attention to everything else. I miss family birthdays. My brother stopped inviting me to things. I was too busy to see my mom when she got sick. And then, the stress caught up with me. One day, I collapsed at my desk. Ended up in the ER. High blood pressure. Sleep deprivation. They told me if I didn't slow down, I was headed for a heart attack. That was my wake-up call. I realized I'd won the battle, but nearly lost myself in the process. So I changed. I hired a small team. Delegated. I took weekends off. I started saying no to projects that didn't feel right. I reached out to my family, apologized for being absent. I started going to therapy. I got healthier. And here's the kicker, I still kept the biggest client. They stuck with me through it all. I built my own firm, and it's thriving. But I don't gloat about it. When I drive past the old office building, now empty, dark, windows covered with dust, I don't smile. I just feel tired. Because revenge? It's not clean. It's messy. It takes something from you, too. Mark got what he deserved. The company collapsed under its own lies. And me? I got my life back, but not without scars. That's the real cost of revenge. And I'll never forget it.